When I was 8 years old, my family lived in a small house just outside the city. My parents fought constantly, their voices often rising above the hum of the old television that old used as a distraction. My mom would cry quietly in the kitchen, her hands trembling as she scrubbed dishes, while my dad slammed doors and muttered under his breath. Their anger was like a storm, always brewing, ready to erupt. One night, the eruption came. My dad, drunk and furious, hurled a glass across the room. It shattered near my mom's feet as she stood frozen. I ran to her instinctively, placing myself between them. But he grabbed me roughly by the arm. His voice thundered, accusing me of taking her side, of being just like her. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but the sting of his words stayed with me. Things got worse after that. One day, my younger sister and I sat outside, while my dad's yelling shook the walls of the house. She was only 5, her wide eyes filled with fear. I told her it was going to be okay, even though I wasn't sure it would be. When my dad stormed out of the house and drove away, my mom fell apart. She locked herself in her room for hours, leaving us to fend for ourselves. I made sandwiches from stale bread and peanut butter, trying to hold it together for my sister. Then came the night everything changed. I woke up to smoke filling the air and the sound of my mom screaming. Our house was on fire. My dad had come home drunk and passed out with a cigarette in his hand. The flames had spread quickly. My sister and I scrambled out of bed, choking on the thick black smoke as we tried to find our mom. I remember grabbing my sister's hand and pulling her toward the front door, terrified we wouldn't make it. Chagged. Outside, we huddled together, watching the fire consume the only home we'd ever known. My dad stood there, swaying, too drunk to comprehend what had happened. My mom sobbed uncontrollably, her cries mingling with the sirens of the fire trucks. That night, everything was lost, not just our home, but the fragile sense of security I'd been clinging to. We moved into a shelter after that, my mom too broken to rebuild on her own. I became the caregiver, waking up early to get my sister ready for school, making sure she had clean clothes and something to eat. At 8 years old, I had learned how to be strong, but I also learned how fragile life could be. Even now, as an adult, the smell of smoke brings me back to that night. I've worked hard to build a life for myself, to break the cycle of chaos and fear. But the scars of my childhood remain, a reminder of the resilience it took to survive and the determination it takes to heal. This story captures the emotional weight of a childhood, marked by instability and traumatic events.